Joining me now, somebody a lot smarter than me, research fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Joel Griffith. Joel, what is, first of all, for people who just showed up on planet Earth, what are the Paris Climate Accords?
Well, thanks for having me. Well, the Paris Climate Accords are an agreement that the developing countries of the world are hoping that countries such as the U.S. and the big economies of the world will sign on to, that would limit our carbon emissions and actually make us carbon neutral within a few decades. And this really requires a transformation of our economy and our energy output and across the EU and across the United States, in the hopes that we could avert some sort of a climate disaster.
Okay, carbon neutral, like the gear shift in your car? What does that mean?
Well, if you look at how our economy runs, the vast majority of our transportation and our manufacturing output relies on the use of fossil fuels, things such as coal and natural gas and oil. Think about our vehicles. Most of us drive vehicles that run on gasoline, and we cool our homes and heat our homes based on electricity produced from coal power plants or natural gas. We have found this to be a reliable form of energy. We know that if we're in states other than California, we're going to be able to flip on our lights and run our appliances. It's cheap, it's reliable, it's abundant, but there is the shift underway that would force us to get off of those types of reliable, abundant forms of energy and rely on renewable forms of energy, such as solar, wind, and hydropower.
Okay, so are other countries actually doing this? I know Americans, especially on the right, don't want to do this. It's expensive. It's going to make us poorer. Are the other countries doing these things, or are they paying lip service to it?
Well, there are some countries that have been trying this. Germany comes to mind. If you look at what's going on in Germany, Germans pay sometimes a multiple of what we pay for our electricity. So if you're spending $100 a month to cool your home and heat your home during the winter, well, in places like Germany, they might be spending $200 to $300 per month. And that has a very real impact on their standard of living. Our disposable income, the income that we have after paying things like taxes, typical family here is about $10,000 more per year than in Germany. And that's in large part because we have not succumbed to the green energy policies that Germany has ascribed to.
Okay, France. Every time I bring up France and we talk about this thing called nuclear power, people bring up France is, now correct me if I'm wrong, this is what I read, 80% powered by nuclear. Are we doing nuclear?
Well, unfortunately, over the past few decades, we have shied away from nuclear. If you look at what's happened in California, at one point, just a few decades ago, they derived a substantial part of their power from nuclear, and they have consistently been taking their power plants offline. And now Californians have blackouts quite often. They've got more forest fires, and their electricity prices are 2 to 3 times as high in California versus some other parts of the country. And if you look at nuclear is carbon neutral and abundant, and if regulated properly is quite affordable. But we have regulated the heck out of nuclear and have refused to recognize that that form of energy has actually gotten much, much safer over the decades. But it all makes sense if you realize that those on the radical left, this is all a smokescreen. It's not about making the environment better. It is about limiting our economic growth because they look at human beings as a parasite on our planet. And it's a smokescreen. They use environmentalism as an excuse to centralize power and diminish our opportunity as humans to have a better life for ourselves.
Do they think humans are a parasite on the planet, or do they think Americans are a parasite on the planet? Because I see precious little from the American left blasting away at China out there. China's throwing up a new coal plant every 15 minutes.
Oh, it's an excellent point. Well, Americans are viewed as especially parasites because we do enjoy the world's greatest standard of living for such a wide range of people. And you brought up a great point about China. You know, the fact is, if we were to go completely carbon neutral in the United States, even using the climate estimates of the Obama administration and the UN, that would only shave a few tenths of 1 degree Celsius off our global temperatures. And that's because the big increase in carbon emissions is actually happening in places like India and China. And we'd be crazy to think that they're going to be willing to stop their populations from actually enjoying a better standard of living and more affordable energy just to play along with this charade that we see so many so-called environmentalists pushing forward in this country. It's not going to happen. We're basically going to handicap our own economic growth and redistribute wealth from here to elsewhere. That is the end goal of this.
Joel, I don't want to make this about politics and elections, but I am genuinely curious. Okay, this is clearly a Democratic Party focus, and yet they won the Rust Belt. What am I missing here? I'm clearly missing something. What am I missing?
Well, there's a disconnect right now between what many people say they support and what they might support in actuality. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of people say that they support things like the Paris Accords or going carbon neutral. But when you actually ask people, well, what are you willing to personally pay to make this happen? 68% of Americans say they're not willing to even incur $10 more per month in additional expenses to make this reality of this carbon neutral economy. So I think it is incumbent on us to explain to people, look, if we go through the Paris Accord or put in a carbon tax or try to go carbon neutral in this 10 to 20 year period, that means that if you go fly your family to Disney World on vacation, that's going to cost you hundreds of dollars extra for that airline ticket. If you want your home to be 68 degrees during the summer when it's 95 degrees outside, you're going to spend a lot more per month. You want to fill up your car? Well, gasoline's going to be more expensive because there are going to be these new regulatory hurdles put in place. We need to make it clear to people that things such as the Paris Accord and going carbon neutral, that is going to impact them as a family. And the wealthiest, they're going to be fine because they're still going to have their private jets. They're going to still have their big homes. Look at Al Gore with his giant mansion in Tennessee. They're not going to be impacted, but everyday Americans will be. They're going to have to greatly curtail their standard of living to make the radical environmental agenda dreams come true.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me. Thanks.